Hey guys, and welcome back to the Kickstarter campaign. I just wanted to take a few moments and explain to you guys what the roadmap is, what our plan is for the B-17 project, what these different projects are, what they do, what the future holds for us. We've reached a point now where we have actually funded the campaign. So now the goal is to be able to unlock stretch goals. So let me first off explain what a stretch goal is, and then we'll go into some of the specifics of what is this entire campaign, okay? So a stretch goal is going to be extra parts for the kits. These are going to include things like CNC machined metal gun barrels, electroplated skin, electroplated hull for the ball turret, things like that. So we have a lot of electroplated items because we want the surfaces to be a lot more shiny metallic, and it also stiffens things up. So that's a great upgrade. The gun barrels, of course, are a fantastic upgrade. A second figure, so that you don't have to have a figure inside the ball turret. You can put the figure in here. That's a great upgrade. So there's a whole bunch of those, and you'll see them come up 3 at a time as we reach those goals for the campaign. So it behooves you guys to share the product and talk about the campaign with your friends and on your forum groups, because the more people that we can get involved in the campaign, the more upgrades we can unlock. Now, most of these upgrades would not be available afterwards, because if we don't reach a certain milestone, then we're not going to be able to order in bulk the number of upgrades that we would need to make that cost affordable, because all of these upgrades are incredibly expensive by themselves. Even something such as a barrel, for example, if we got a barrel done and we only had to do, let's say, 10 barrels, each barrel could cost $50. That's a very large increase for the cost of the kit. Electroplating the skin could cost hundreds of dollars. All of these things add up a lot. So the goal is to be able to reach the threshold of that stretch goal, and then you can get that added in, and we know that we'll be able to produce them in numbers that are going to make sense for giving them away to you guys for free. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And if you have any questions about stretch goals, please let us know. Now, there are some stretch goals that are just for fun, extras that don't have anything to do specifically with the kit. Most of that includes different patches, embroidered patches that we would make. Now, those are something that we could definitely offer as an add-on, because that is its own entity. We can order a whole bunch of them at one time and keep them more readily available and just give you guys a discount on the Kickstarter campaign, and then offer it at a retail price normally on the website. So those things might be available. However, just remember, anything that has to do with the kit is only going to be available during the campaign. Now, let's talk about roadmap. So initially, when we started working on this project a few years ago, the goal was to do just the ball turret. And then as we started doing research and figuring out how this was actually going to work, we decided, okay, it's actually going to be a whole lot more interesting if you do the fuselage. And then we said, okay, now what if we did each fuselage section as its own diorama, but then you could slide them together and make an entire grand fuselage. So that's kind of the process that we went through to decide how the project was going to work. So this in itself is one diorama. It's one vignette. It's an action-oriented themed pose. So whether the character that's in here is doing something, or whether the ball turret itself is doing something, it's designed initially with its original intention to be completely on its own. So for example, you could order the 1/8 version of the ball turret, because this is your absolute favorite part of the B-17, which is what I would do. And then you could get the 1/16 complete fuselage and order that, because that's going to be a little bit less expensive overall to get something that's still massive enough to be able to see all the incredible details on the inside of the plane and inside the ball turret. That's an idea if you didn't want the big model. Now, this big model is the one that we're going to have in museums. So if you want an actual museum model, that heightened level of detail, then you're going to want to spend the money on the 1/8 kit, because that's the one that's going to have the absolute most detail. When we engineer the 1/16 version, we're going to use the same initial details from this one, but then we have to pay attention to things like the thicknesses of the plastic and make sure that it can actually be produced to a high quality and it's not going to fall apart. It's not going to be too fragile. So some parts are going to be combined. Some parts might be a little bit thicker than the part here. So those types of engineering changes will take place while still keeping all of the elements the same and all of the detail the same. So this will still be the creme de la creme of B-17s forever. So that's what makes this one really, really cool. Now, as far as connecting them together, since each scene is its own, again, like I said, you don't have to buy all of them, but it makes sense to buy them all because they're going to attach to each other. So we're going to create a system by designing these stations, the outside station and the inside station, in a way that allows you to attach these to each other and keep them rigid, and then add to them with the additional stand and the additional base. So the base itself is just slightly smaller than the fuselage, which is going to allow for everything to slide up next to each other. Then, once the entire fuselage is created, that very last campaign, we will probably offer, well, not probably, we will offer a complete base. So you won't need the stands, but you'll need a complete base section. We'll figure out what kind of shipping needs to be done or how that's going to interlock together to allow for ease of use for shipping, because obviously you can't ship a 9-foot long piece and have that be reasonable. But we can put it together in such a way that it makes it very simple for you to construct, and then that will make that incredibly nice display as a single unit. Some other things that we're thinking about doing are going to be making display cases, so you could get a single display case for a single section, or in the end you could get a display case that has the entire fuselage inside. Both of these, the 1/8 and the 1/16, are designed to fit on a shelf. So this distance here is a little bit less than 12 inches. So you can put this on a 12-inch shelf. Now this is a thinner portion of the fuselage. It's going to get a little bit bigger as it goes to the front. The nose is going to be the biggest, and of course the wing sections will be the biggest, because even if we don't do wings, you know, a 9-foot B-17 is going to have like 12, 16, 18-foot wings, something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly the dimensions. We're going to have a cutout where the wings go, so the wings will come out just a little bit, and then you'll be able to see inside and see all those sections. Now, something we are considering, because people have mentioned it, is to do wings in some form or fashion. I don't know if that's going to be designing them to where they could be attached or detached, but some of the museums that we've talked to have mentioned the idea of doing wings because that's going to be in a very large room on display. So that is something that we think would be cool, but it could take another 6 months of development time, which is a lot more money. So that's something that we want to consider based upon how successful the campaign is. Now, our thought process is, with the success of this first campaign, this will dictate the speed at which we can come out with the additional sections. Some people have made mention of how long it could take to go through and complete all these sections as far as releasing them. And there were a few things that we made choices about when we decided to release them in sections and kind of space it out. So number one concern is the funds of the client. We're collectors just like you guys are. We have our own budgeting concerns for each one of us as we collect things. So we understand where most people fall into when it comes to being able to pay for something, even if it's a holy grail type item. So we wanted to space out the releases in such a way that allows you guys to take advantage of payment plans or pay it in full, but do it in groups to where you only have 1 or 2 per year, so that you're not throwing away, or not throwing away, but that you're not putting in many thousands of dollars per year just to get it done faster. Now, if we do much better than expected on the campaign, there's an opportunity for us to hire an additional 3D modeler. And in that case, we can double the output of our production and go from producing 1 or 2 to producing maybe 3 pieces per year. That's an option. But the thing that we want to make sure that's okay with the client base is that the funds still work out. When your payment plan is finished for this piece, you can easily flow into the next piece and the next piece. So we're going to do some voting systems if that comes to fruition. So in July or August, we will know kind of where the customer base is going to be. And by that time, we can say, okay, what is the best speed that works the best for us and works the best for you guys, our clients. So that's a question that has been raised, and I hope that answers that question. Some of the other questions, let's see. This is our primary large project for the next, until it's done. So we're going to be focusing all of our attention on this. So this is going to get produced. So we've already funded the Kickstarter campaign. You guys can go onto the website or go onto Kickstarter and make your pre-order. So at this point, this is a go, which is fantastic. Now the process is, of course, getting those stretch goals opened up and just adding to the kit to make it even better and better and better. But as far as some people have risen concerns about, is this ever going to happen? You know, you start off by doing one, but then what happens if you decide just not to do it anymore? We have commitments with some museums, so we have to do it. And with your support, we can do it faster and we can do it better. And of course, you guys will reap the rewards of that with some amazing display pieces of your own. Let me see, what else do we have left that we need to discuss here? So the 1/8 statue, I think we already talked about this one in the original campaign video, but just in case you guys did not watch that, this is going to be designed with polystone. This is a painted finish, so it's not real metal, but it's going to be painted to look very much like aged silver and aged bronze. This is a really cool memorial piece, and the plaque is removable so that you can put your own plaque. And we're going to give you guys a couple of different resources to be able to purchase your own plaque that's customized to fit your family member or friend or somebody else who served in B-17s in World War II. I think it's something that's like 20 bucks or less, including shipping, to get your own plaque made. So it's not very expensive. If we were to try to do custom plaques, it would be incredibly expensive because you have to do them in bulk and every single one has to be customized. So we'd rather just give you guys the resources to use somebody that's used to doing stuff like that. So that's really cool. So the first Kickstarter that is being released is the clear side. Let me pop that off here. So this clear side is a 3D printed piece, so it's not as clear as the real one's going to be. And the real one's going to be UV protected, which means it won't yellow, which is also a very important feature. These ones have a tendency to go yellow, the 3D printed ones. And that's another reason why you don't want to do 3D printed parts, is because they just really are not an industrial strength, an industrial look material. We've had a couple of mentions of people saying, well, why don't you just release 3D files? There's a couple of reasons why we wouldn't do that. Number one is there are thousands of hours of research involved in putting this together, and selling a 3D printed kit for 50 bucks is just not going to recoup the cost involved in being able to develop something like this. And that's an important aspect. You know, we have 5, 6 people that are all professional artists on staff. So these are not low-paying jobs. So we have to make sure that we can afford to maintain the business and produce a profit. That does not happen when you release 3D products for STL files that end up getting shared, stolen, traded, all that kind of stuff. Plus, aside from just that logistical aspect, this piece is 3D printed in-house. We use this to test the fitment and make sure that everything works, and then we make adjustments and we print again and we print again. When this goes to the factory, they create this in red wax and then create molds and then create polyurethane parts, aside from the parts that are going to be upgraded to metal and etc. Those parts have incredible detail, are sturdier, stiffer, won't break down. This will have a tendency to slowly droop over time, depending upon the temperature and humidity, which means it could vary. You know, some person might have a very temperate, very dry space, and 3D printed parts might last forever. But in Texas, where we are, where it gets really, really humid, these parts will have a tendency to start just slowly drooping. So it's not a system that allows for a model of this size and this detail to survive. So we would never 3D print and sell a 3D printed kit because of that longevity issue. We will always produce it in the highest quality part that's physically available. Going back to the clear side. So over the course of the next month or so, we're going to be going over this piece itself and looking at how can we make this as transparent as possible and as easy to see through as possible. because you've got a ton of detail inside this ball turret, and we want to make sure that you can see that. So one option for that, of course, is to take the character out, get the stretch goal approved that's going to put the character in here. Then you can put this in a position to where the top hatch is open so you can see the ammunition, and then you can open up the back hatch and place this at an angle to where you can see inside. Then you could also have the clear side, and you're going to have some pretty good views. That's the only way I think that you're going to be able to see everything that goes on inside the turret and make that one completely worthwhile. Because we have every single part that's in the ball turret, or it's supposed to be in a ball turret, it's in there, based upon this model, the A2. So we're going to be developing this, and we'll show you guys examples as we get it developed on how we get this to be as clear as possible, even while we're just doing 3D printed parts. And then, of course, once we get a sample from the factory, you'll see the real thing and see how clear it actually is, which is pretty cool. They do really good clear parts. I think that's it as far as roadmap stuff goes. So we want to make sure that this is as easy a process as possible, but we understand that the Kickstarter campaign itself can be just a little bit complicated to go through. So my associate Josh is making another video that's going to be next to this one, and that's going to walk you through the process of placing a Kickstarter order so that you know what to do and how to do it, just in case you've never been familiar with Kickstarter before and you're not sure exactly how to place that pledge, because you don't get charged until the end of the campaign, and it is pretty simple, but you have to kind of understand what's going on and you have to read it. So he's going to go over that in another video just to make sure that you guys are fully aware. Oh, also, one thing that we didn't talk about that was mentioned. So this turret has, oh yeah, it's in here. So you can remove this turret. I'm actually not going to do this on camera because this is a little bit fragile and I need to be able to see what I'm doing. But right here on this side, this axle is magnetized, so it's attached with magnets. So you can pop that axle off, and then this whole thing can pop out. Because somebody mentioned, is the ball turret removable? The answer is absolutely yes, it is removable. We're even looking at options to make this side removable so you can switch it out, whether you want to have a solid side or whether you want to have a transparent side. So we've got, I mean, there's tons of like hidden upgrades all throughout this. There's so many things that we couldn't even talk about in one sitting. I need to write down like all the special features that are existing. Like these are going to be actual wire. This is real coiled cabling. It's pretty crazy. Like even right here, this is real coiled up copper. We're not sparing any expense on the details in making this truly fantastic. So we're really excited about it. There's going to be a few more videos coming out, and then of course there'll be plenty of update videos and update posts. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to just learn about what our roadmap is and what the process is that we're going through. I wish we could tell you exactly specifically what day each one was coming out, but I think we'll have a concrete plan for how fast it will come out, probably in August. We should know for sure what that plan is, and we'll be able to relay that to you. But at minimum, we know that the radio room and the waist gun section are a little bit lighter as far as complicatedness, so we're going to be working on those together. So they will release next. Then the tail section is going to take a minute because that one's a little bit harder. And the nose section, of course, you can understand that is the most complicated part of the whole plane. That's going to take a minute. So if we can get help to do that, we will. Otherwise, we'll do it ourselves. We've got plenty of artists, and we're going to be devoting everything to make sure that you guys get something that is truly phenomenal and never seen before. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you guys very much, and we'll check you on the next update. Thanks.